Uh, can you please take over now? Yeah.
Okay, yep, thank you. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Manjusha Shalki. She has her doctorate in chemistry, and she comes from a small town of Nanded in Maharashtra, from the banks of Godavari and all the way to France. So her journey is really interesting, and I very much enjoyed reading about this diverse experience that she's had. She comes from a lower middle class family, so very humble background, but she describes parents who put a very high priority on education, and this was a big influence in her childhood. So she has risen to the top and is now a principal scientist at the National Chemical Laboratory in Pune. And so it's my pleasure to have you here. And if it's okay, I'll start with the first question now. So in your story, you describe coming from a simple family, but you said that your parents were very motivating. And I was wondering if you could comment on how this may have shaped you differently from other girls your age.
We can't hear you, Manjusha. Dr. Manjusha, have you unmuted yourself?
Yeah, actually, I was not being able to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Sushma ma'am and Stephanie, and thanks for inviting me here today. And I'm very happy and very glad to be here. And yeah, I'm very excited to tell about my journey to all of you. And as Stephanie has asked that how much influence my parents have on me, then I would say that they are the huge influence on me. And if we listen to all the esteemed accomplished female engineers before me, everybody has a similar experience about family, and that emphasizes the importance of family support and the support of husband, the support of parents, which I was also very fortunate to had, and that had made my journey probably easier because I had very supportive parents. And you know, even though they are simple, they were not conventional. They were extraordinary parents, I would say. My mother, she has also completed her education after her marriage, so that was also a reference for me. And my father, he was a master's in Marathi literature. So you know, he has inculcated the habit, or what you can say, the liking for reading in me since when I was a very young girl. He used to bring many classic Marathi and Hindi literature for me. Along with that, he used to bring the books of international authors, like, for example, Tolstoy's Anna Karenina or Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. So these kind of books I have read as a young girl, and that way he introduced me to a very strong woman from different cultures and different parts of the world as well, and that has formed my thought process even when I was in Nanded, or which is kind of small town. But my thought process was quite well developed, probably because I read a lot, and my father was very well traveled and well read man, so his thinking was very mature when it comes to a girl's education or their financial independence. So yes, that was an huge influence on me. Apart from that, you know, my father, I never saw him depressed or dejected even in most difficult situations. So his life itself is a huge reference for me, to not to be demotivated by temporary failures or rejections, and that made me believe you know, that the strong willpower will drive you to success sooner or later. And both of my parents were entirely different personalities. My mom is very religious, and my father was a non-believer. He never believed in God, and she was like, she would do a fast most of the times of the weeks. We have to ask her when she doesn't have fast for any god. Okay, so despite of that, the kind of compatibility as a couple they shared was amazing. So that has made me understand that you can have a difference of opinion with the people, whether it is your partner or whether it is family members, friends, or even colleagues, and still you can have a maturity to not to impose it on other person, and you can have a respectful relation, whether it is personal or whether it is professional relation. So that's all. Both of them made me believe in family structure, support system that only family can provide when you deal with the outer world, you know. So I think that is how my personality was shaped by my parents.
Sounds like they were a really good example and a good model for you. So now I want to jump ahead to your own experience as a working mom.
Yeah.
And so if you could tell us a little bit about that, and maybe there's something that you would like to tell society about working moms.
Yeah. So yeah, I think all moms are working moms. So some of us work at home for our family, and some of us work professionally while raising our children. So I would say that it's not easy for either of them, because stay-at-home moms are often not given importance for what they do for their family, and many times they are compared with professionally working and financially independent women who look more confident probably in their appearance because they have seen the outer world. But sometimes that induces some inferiority in some stay-at-home moms. That's what I feel. And on the other hand, the professionally working moms like us are sometimes judged for being ambitious, and it is presumed that they don't care much about family or children. And I think that is a gross misinterpretation about the women who want to pursue professional career and who want to be financially independent. So I would like to say that working mother is an institution in her own right, and one who combines a successful career that gives her financial independence, and that she combines with an effective motherhood while raising a child. So it is important to understand that both these things are extremely demanding, and to do justice to each without neglecting the other is a quite formidable task. In my case, my son is now 18-year-old, and soon he's flying to USA for his undergrad education. But I came to Pune when he was just 2.5 year old. I was, after my marriage, I was in Bhopal with my husband. He was working over there, and then I have completed my PhD in Bhopal itself. But then I got a job in NCL. I was initially very reluctant to come. I mean, I never thought that I should leave my husband in another state and come back to Maharashtra for job. But my PhD guide, he insisted that you, for any chemistry graduate or PhD in chemistry, NCL is the best institution in the nation, and you are getting a opportunity to be a scientist over there, so you don't regret. You will regret it later. That's what he told me if you let it go. So these kind of I would must say that I meet a very what you can say helpful or supportive men in my life, whether it is my father, whether it is my husband, or my PhD guide, who understood the potential that I am having, and they have nurtured that potential. They have encouraged or motivated me to take risks, to do things which I probably would not think for myself. So my PhD guide insisted. So that's why I came to Pune and I joined NCL. And then see, initially my mom and my mother-in-law, they would stay with me alternately to take care of my child because he was very young. So that is how I was supported by my parents and parents-in-laws both. And then when he was like, even I went abroad for my postdoc fellowships and later as a visiting fellow in USA. So they took care of my child. So that was very important, because the most what you can say is the emotional turmoil comes when you become a mom, and most of the women or girl give up at that stage. Probably it was really what you can say emotionally taxing on me also to leave my child, even though he was with my mom or mother-in-law, and to go to office or to go to lab and work. So I think at that point everybody gives up. Even I also contemplated to give up because he used to cry when I was leaving leaving. So I used to feel very bad, but that time my family told me that, see, once he grow up, probably he would not need your time as much as he needs now, and then you will regret that why I left it. So you have such a support system, so continue. And that's what I have done. I didn't give up, and then I continued. And that's what I would say to all the working women or who are having ambitions to have a career, that just don't give up.
Thank you. So I really appreciate your perspective, and thank you for the acknowledgement of stay-at-home moms and the hard work that they do as well. You've had a really impressive international career, and you just described how important it was for your success to have the support of family and friends. And I was just wondering if along the way, have you experienced any gender bias that may have held you back, or if not, how did you overcome that?
Okay, so well, I would not want to categorize it as a gender bias. Probably every working professional, whether it is a man or woman, they would face some kind of bias at some point in their career. So it is very easy for women to categorize it as a gender bias. We just, I think, comfort ourselves that we are being biased because we are women. I am saying that because I don't feel personally now. See, this is very complex, complex, and there is no generalized or straightforward answer for this. There might be a societal conditions, or there might be incidences where women face such kind of gender biases. But I would say from my own experience in my professional context that because there were women in the past who fought with society to make a place for them in a professional space, so that has made easier for the women like me today. And women scientists are very welcoming, especially in research field. They are everywhere in all kind of scientific research areas, if you see. But that was not the case some time back. Even though women scientists are not really new for us, even in context of India, we know that since ancient time there were contributions from women scientists for our scientific discoveries, or for our to improve our understanding about the universe around us. And even in modern science or modern era also, we see a lot of women scientists in India. But the first Indian woman scientist who earned PhD in science was in 1930, way back in 1930. Her name was Kamala Soni. I'm telling you about her because the woman like her has made it easier for the woman like me to have it more easier in scientific research. So she is the first Indian woman who has done PhD in science. So when she got a research fellowship in a very prestigious Indian Institute of Science in Bengaluru, her application was rejected by the then director, and who was no other than our very own very respectful Nobel laureate, Professor C.V. Raman. He rejected despite of she having qualifications and she being capable, only because he has presumed that probably women are not competent enough to do research. So what she has done, that she has done a satyagraha outside his office. She would not leave until, she told him that I would not leave your office until you give me admission, and if you are rejecting me just for being woman, then I'm not going to go anywhere from here. So then that compelled him to give her admission, but he laid down some conditions for her. That is, like, she would be on probation for 1 year. So those conditions were not there for the male students. Okay, and she should not be a distraction in the lab. So that was, she should not be a distraction, particularly to the male researchers. That's what the condition has been put down in front of her. So even though these conditions were very humiliating, she has accepted them. Okay, and that is how she became the first woman who was admitted to IICT in 1930. But later she said that even though Professor Raman was a very great scientist, I can never forget how he treated me just for being a woman. So I think because of these kind of gutsy women who fought who fought with the system, who fought with the status quo, and they have changed the things. So today there is a lot of change, and it has changed drastically. Today I myself have 8 girls and 6 boys in my research group who are doing research at different levels. And even though earlier girls taking education as high as PhD degree was not that common, but now it's really common, and most of my female students, they complete their PhD before getting married. So I feel that I don't think that I would like to categorize my experiences which I get as a professional into gender bias. It can be probably, I don't know, I just don't want to, because I met so many supportive male colleagues which are very wonderful, supportive, relatable colleagues, collaborators, students, the male colleagues. We are having Paul and Hans here today supporting us. So I think we should come out of that phase now about categorizing every bias as a gender bias. But this is my experience. There might be a woman or there might be a female professionals who can have the experience different than me.
So thank you. And it's really important to keep in mind all the support that we do get along the way. So thank you for your positive reflection. Okay, so I'd like to move on. Thank you very much. And I'd like to introduce now Pamela Tiku. So Mrs. Pamela Tiku is the Chief